Yo, what's up, guys? It's me, it's your boy Zeladon, and I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to play a Battlemage in the end game, and about my whole setup and everything like that. So, to start off, we'll just go into our talents and masteries and that sort of thing. So, as you can see here, my skills aren't that well upgraded. I haven't really spent a lot of money on this game. Basically, you either have to really be no-lifing the game or spending a lot of money to actually have skills upgraded very far at this point, because it takes a lot of Serenity Shards and Serenity Marks. You can buy those from other people in the auction house if you have the gold or want to spend the gold on it. Personally, I think for a tank class, you don't really need to upgrade these that much. I mean, some of them are more important than others. So yeah, let's go and start talking about which ones are more important than others. So first one I would suggest upgrading is Mana Maelstrom. So basically, this is one of the more tricky abilities, probably the most tricky ability of the class. So what this does is and you can only use this when you're below 40% mana, of course, as it says. You probably know that if you're playing the Battlemage already. And what it does is it gives you your mana back, and it also heals you. A lot of people don't realize that it also heals you. So as you can see, 4,061 health I think per tick, and it's like a really fast tick. So I think I usually get about 25-30% health back when I use my Mana Maelstrom. But yeah, as you can see, the most important thing about this is that you have to get below 40% mana. And that can be kind of tricky if you're using your Shocking Grasp a lot. It can be actually kind of tricky to get low enough mana to use this. And I'll go into that later on in a bit here. So anyway, I think the most important one to level up at first is this one. Agile reduces your Mana Maelstrom by 6 seconds. The Mighty Power is going to be awesome once we get there. If you can get this to level 8, if you're going to spend the money on something to get to level 8 as soon as possible, I would also say go for Mana Maelstrom and get 2 charges of Mana Maelstrom. That would be freaking awesome. But yeah, as I said, for those of us that aren't spending a whole lot of time or money on the game, it's kind of hard to actually level up your skills that much right now. Okay, next up is, I believe, Magnetic Shield also has an agile that reduces the cooldown by 3 seconds. So this is one of the first ones I got to level 6 for a reduced cooldown on Magnetic Shield. This is one of your abilities that this is the one that pulls in all your enemies to your location and debuffs them for 10 seconds. This one's very important because it costs no mana, and it gives you 1 point of Arcane Power, 1 stack of Arcane Power, I should say. And yeah, you can basically use it on cooldown. It doesn't cost any mana. It's just basically a free ability that adds quite a bit of damage for no cost. Very good ability. And then the next one I upgraded was the Teleport Dimensional Warp, which also has a cooldown reduction by 5 seconds once you get to level 6. So those are the 3 ones I upgraded first. First Mana Maelstrom, then Magnetic Shield, then the Warp. I mean, you could go Warp first and then Shield. It's not really a huge difference, but those are the 3 most important ones to upgrade, in my opinion. And then with Draining Touch, this one's kind of a toss-up for me. You can either reduce the mana cost of Draining Touch by 10%, or you can add a slow to it. If you're more of a PvP battle mage, I would go with the slow. But I should say that I'm mostly a PvE player right now, so all my build is set up for PvE, so keep that in mind as we're talking about this here. So I went with the mana cost reduction because, as I said, it can be hard to get low on mana, but actually it's not that hard. It's pretty easy. There's kind of a trick to it, and I'll teach you that trick after we're done going through all these skills and stuff here. And then Shocking Grasp gives you a second longer on the stun effect on that, which is really nice. That's what I went with there. And then mana cost reduction on Arcane Explosion. And Static Prison, I still haven't bought any of the runes for this yet, because It's a 45-second cooldown. It's not really a big deal to have mana cost reduction on that. I think it would be a waste of glyphs to do that. Maybe go with Agile for 5-second cooldown reduction on it. That would kind of be nice, I guess. But overall, I feel like all of the engravings for Static Prison aren't very attractive, in my opinion. I'd probably go with Agile, but this is probably going to be the very last thing that I upgrade. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Next thing is Masteries. This one's pretty easy to explain. So basically, if you're going for a tank build for PvE or even for PvP, the full tank build goes for electric armor. Basically increases your armor and your resistance by a ton. Just put everything into this. If you do mess up, and if you do want to change, you can try these other ones out if you like. There is the option to, as you see here, I did put a little bit into Magical Master, and I can spend, you can click this reset mastery right here, and I could get these 4 books back for the cost of 180 diamonds. Yeah, so I don't really need the 4 books that badly, so I'm not going to actually do that, but there is the option for 180 diamonds to go ahead and reset these other ones as well. As you can see here, for example, if I were to go and reset my electric armor, I would get my 477 books back and 49 outlines and all my crowns back too. So if you do accidentally put all your points into the wrong thing, you can reset it for the low cost of 180 diamonds. It's not that bad. So yeah, everything into electric armor. I'll go ahead and cover these other ones real quick. This one's Magical Master. This one basically increases your damage and reduces the mana cost of your spells. So this is all if you want to go for a, I guess, DPS battle mage. I mean, this could be good for PvP, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I think for PvP, I would rather go with Dimensional, though. This one's pretty cool because once you get to Tier 1, you get a second charge of Teleport, Dimensional Warp. So you actually can teleport twice in a row. So this would be really, really nice for PvP. You can chase down people all day long. They can never get away from you. Also, your teleport has a silence effect, so basically that gives you 2 silences. So if I were going for PvP, I would be focusing on Dimensional, and I don't see any situation where Magical Master would be that great. I guess if you're trying to like just get record times on low-level dungeons, obviously you don't need armor for low-level dungeons, so if you want to go for record low dungeon runs, go for Magical Master maybe. But even in that case, having 2 teleports in low level in 4 speed runs would probably be better than having more damage, I think, because the speed runs, it's all about getting to the boss as quickly as possible. So if you can teleport twice, you get really quick up to that boss, don't you? Anyhow, moving on to talents. So my talent setup, I put into Combat Master, 9 points into Bravery, that increases attack, 1 point into Energy, just in case I get a artifact roll for that, and then 1 into Vicious for attack speed, and I do have an artifact roll that increased my Vicious to 40% chance, which is pretty nice. And then for Iron Guard, I put 9 into Dragon Scale, 1 into Armor, just in case I got an armor roll on my artifact, which I did, which increased it up to 4. So got quite a bit of armor boost here as well. And then Shield Mastery, and I got 2 artifact reforge rolls on Shield Mastery, increasing my block chance by 6% per stack, which is pretty sick. And then for the other ones, HP, 9 points into that, 1 point into Healed Effect, 1 point into Splendor, which increases your resist chance by 10% for 4 seconds. And Impeccable, 1 point into Impeccable for parry rate, 9 points into Phalanx for block rate, of course, because this synergizes with our Shield Mastery. So if you go for Shield Mastery, you want to go for Phalanx. I would say if you go for Fittest or Narrow Escape, then I would maybe put more into parry, because I think parry's just straight up better than block. If you don't know how it works, parry basically completely negates damage, and block reduces incoming damage. So even though you only get 0.5% per parry and you get 1% per block, I would still go with the parry in that case. But if you're having shield mastery, then go with phalanx. And then diamond skin, because I use the stone skin ability, and then this is a really nice ability that makes it so you get even more healing whenever you use your stone skin ability. And then sigils, basically, you know, I just go for whatever. I actually just click on whatever and see what raises my tank's rating the most. So mostly you go for resist rate, and I guess a couple of dodge ones work a little bit better. Some of them have the exact same. For example, here I have dodge, and here if I switch it to resist rate, it doesn't change my rating at all. So I'm not sure which one would be better to actually have, the dodge or resist rate. I think dodge is also a mechanic that allows you to completely avoid damage. So I think maybe actually dodge would be the better choice overall here. But I'm not 100% sure on that quite yet. Both of them, I mean, you can't go wrong either way. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go very much wrong here at all. Strength and intellect is also really good, but the resist and dodge and all that stuff is actually better than the raw stats, at least at this point in the game. And then down here, I do have one rank 4 strength and intellect, a rank 5 hit rate, and then some haste here. You can't really go wrong here, to be honest. Pretty much everything here that you can possibly get is good. Just go ahead and play around with this and see what you like the most, is what I would say. I can't really definitively say something is way better than something else here. I think everything here has its place, and you should just try to balance it as much as possible. Because everything, at some point, you get diminishing returns on, for example, haste and crit rate. You don't really need anything beyond like 30% haste and crit rate. After that, you should probably start focusing on something else. For example, that's just my opinion. But yeah, just play around with it. You can't really go wrong here at all. And yeah, I guess that's it for the skills and stuff. I can go ahead and show you my artifacts real quick, and in my reforges. So, still not sure which one I like better here. So right now I have my PvP and PvE, though I kind of like my PvP one for PvE as well. I do have a little bit lower rating with this, but this increases my straight block rate a lot, and this is why this is my PvP one, is I have tons of unyielding will. So my crowd control effects are reduced by 25% in total, because here's another unyielding will right here, and some additional attack damage, and then yet another unyielding will. So lots and lots of CC reduction here in this build, but I do mostly run with the other one in PvE, which gives me lots and lots of shield mastery. So yeah, it's a hard choice. Also, yeah, I get a +1 on vicious too, so a little bit more attack speed, a little bit more shield mastery. I'm kind of torn on between which one I like better. Both are pretty good. I really love the crowd control reduction a lot. But when you're doing dungeons and stuff, you don't really get CC'd that much, as long as you're avoiding everything. So I feel like dungeons in general, you probably want to go with more shield mastery and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, this stuff is basically all completely RNG. So best of luck to you. Just keep rolling until you get stuff that you can actually use. If you don't know how all that stuff works, you can go ahead and look at I have another video about explaining artifact reforging, which this is the most RNG aspect of the game right here. It can be really frustrating getting something you want, and that is again why we do have in our talents 1 point. We don't put all 10 points into one thing. We put 9 into one and 1 into the other, or 5 if you like. Just in case you do reforge something, as you can see here, for example, we had earlier our hardened armor. If I had all 10 points into Dragon Scale, I would not have been able to take advantage of those artifact hardened armor rules. So that is the reason for this. Okay. Yeah. So next let's go into actually fighting. So I mentioned before how you can actually make sure you get your mana low enough. And it's really pretty simple. So, a lot of people out there might just be trying to mostly spam their abilities as much as possible. And that's not quite the way you should be playing a Battlemage. You want to actually be low on mana a lot. You want to get your mana low as quickly as possible. And okay, I guess we should go in and actually read the skills to explain this a bit better. So, for example, Draining Touch. Let's read the whole thing. Single target damage, recover health, regenerate Arcane Power, enhanced by Arcane Power. Drains power from the target, dealing 277% of it. No, well, the numbers aren't important because they change depending on your skills level, causing the enemy to be slowed for 7 seconds. Generates 1 Arcane Power. You're healed for 3 times if your intellect every 3 seconds for 9 seconds. The recovery effect does not stack. Casting repeatedly will only reset its duration. And here's the important part. Each point of Arcane Power increases the spell damage by 30%, but also increases the mana cost by 100%. So here's the trick right here. Each point of Arcane Power, if you don't know already, you get up to 4 points of Arcane Power. At that point, if you have 4 points of Arcane Power, you can use your Shocking Grasp to stun things. But if you're fighting a boss, for example, and in a lot of other cases, you actually do not want to use your Shocking Grasp. You want to stay at 4 points of Arcane Power, which increases your damage on your Draining Touch and mana cost by, well, I guess it would be by 300% if you're at 4 points of Arcane Power, or I guess 400% each point. Yeah, so I guess you get 120% spell damage and 400% mana cost increase. So this is the main thing that you use to get low on mana. So you can use your mana Maelstrom, and actually it just flat increases your DPS by a lot if you avoid using Shocking Grasp as much as possible. And the same thing goes here for Arcane Explosion. This is your core multi-target damage ability, generates Arcane Power, enhanced by Arcane Power. With a defense bonus, it gives you a little defense buff every time you use it. So these are your 2 core abilities, Draining Touch and Arcane Explosion. These are the ones you basically use constantly. You try to avoid using Shocking Grasp as much as possible. If you need to stun something, then, or you need to taunt something, this is also basically your taunt ability. This is like your super high aggression aggro ability, Shocking Grasp. So if you need to taunt or stun something, then you use it, but you should avoid using Shocking Grasp as much as possible. You mostly use Draining Touch and Arcane Explosion. So yeah, let's go ahead and read the rest of this. Grants you Electric Barrier that reduces damage taken by 10% and increases spell block chance by 30% for 15 seconds. It does not stack. New barrier will replace the existing one. Each point of Arcane Power increases spell damage by 30%, and mana cost by 100%. So exact same thing as Draining Touch. If you're at 4 stacks, you get 120% more damage and 400% more mana cost. So this is how you maximize your DPS and get low enough that you can use your mana Maelstrom, which you should be using to heal yourself on bosses and stuff like that. So let's just go for the single target. So just to show you, like, if this were a boss situation, here's how you open up right here. You open with your Static Prison, use your magnetic shield on cooldown, and basically just constantly use Arcane Explosion and Draining Touch as much as possible. And you see how quickly you get low on mana right there. Already really low. Then you use your Maelstrom, and then keep going in. And then after you use your mana Maelstrom, and it's on cooldown, and then this is the point where you should start putting in Shocking Grasp, because you don't want to get out of mana while your mana Maelstrom's on cooldown. You want to make sure, see that there's still like a lot of time left on our mana Maelstrom, so now we can put on our Shocking Grasp, use our Shocking Grasp a little bit, make sure we still have mana to use all our abilities, use our Shocking Grasp again. See, the mana Maelstrom has a really long cooldown, so even with what was it, the 3 seconds, like the 3 second reduction or something that we have on it, it's still a really long cooldown. That's why the better engraving would be to have 2 charges of mana Maelstrom. But so if you have the means to spend all of your all of your skill stuff on mana Maelstrom to get it to level 8 and to get that second charge, that would be awesome. But yeah, this is exactly what you need to be doing. You don't want to be using Shocking Grasp too much. You want to be getting low enough to maximize your damage and use your mana Maelstrom as much as possible. You should... It is questionable whether or not you should be using Static Prison on cooldown or not. I've been messing around with that a little bit. If I should be saving it to... Because when you use Static Prison, it automatically gives you 4 stacks of Arcane Power. So usually I save it to give myself an instant 4 stacks if I can, but sometimes it might be better just to use it to add a bit of damage, even though you're not going to get... You may already be at 4 stacks or something like that, you know? But usually I save it for this point where Mana Maelstrom's on cooldown, and I'm going to go start using my Shocking Grasp again. Use Shocking Grasp, use Prison, Shocking Grasp again, and then go back into my Draining Touch and Arcane Explosion little rotation here. That's basically it. And 6.3 damage per second, 6.3k damage per second is not bad at all for a single target. So, yeah, that's how you do your basic single target boss rotation right there. And that Mana Maelstrom can be very, very important. As we said, don't forget that Mana Maelstrom also heals you. That's very important to remember. And yeah, I think that'll do it. For groups of mobs, it's basically the same thing. Same thing, you don't want to be using Shocking Grasp. You want to do the same thing, go like this, open with Static Prison. I guess do a little bit more focus on Arcane Explosion, actually, to maximize your damage. But you do want to actually be putting in Draining Touch, because that heals you. So if you do want to be paying attention to this icon right here, the middle one, it has an 8-second duration. Your Draining Touch, that heals you, so don't be just going straight for 100% DPS. Make sure you use your Draining Touch so you're healing yourself a little bit. And this is obviously not and I didn't even reset it, so this is obviously not an accurate DPS chart right here, but we're not a DPS class, we're not trying to show off DPS right here. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know if I forgot anything. If you guys have any questions about anything, let me look real quick at anything that I might have missed. I don't think so. Gems, basically just put in all the... I mean, right now, no one really has the max gems yet, so I can't really tell you what will be the best gems quite yet. I mean, just go with whatever you have for this until we actually get a bunch of gems to the point where we have a bunch of max level gems lying around where we can min max. Right now, just go with whatever you have. That's what I'm doing. And that's basically it. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope I taught you guys a little bit about Battlemage. I love this class, even though people were hate on it a lot. I think it's plenty. It's perfectly fine for a tank, and as you can see by my dungeon runs, I don't really have issues tanking anything, and I do pretty good damage. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you like the video. If you don't like it, go ahead and tell me why. That's always nice to know, but I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys next time in the next video. Thank you so much for your support. Peace out and GG's.